This is a response to Elaine43. Hello there, Elaine. Your excuse me, your video called "Why Live," which I think is a response to or an engagement with the video by Qualia Soup and Theremin Trees and their video "Why Live," which I have to say I didn't like. I know a lot of people did, and yeah, so I'm kind of using your video partly to address what you were saying, which I have a lot of sympathy with in some ways, but not in others. But also the original video that this is kind of a response to. Yeah, I mean, if I understand it correctly, that original video that Qualia Soup and Theremin Trees made was kind of a response in kind to that claim by theists that if there is no God, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like the only source of purpose is divine. You know, which I've heard, and that's fine. But you know, that claim that some theists make, I've always felt about that in a sense it's a parallel to the other claim that theists make, which is, without God, where do you get your morality from? You know, where do you get morality from without God? And we know that claim is bollocks. We know it's bollocks because, of course, without, you know, prior to, you know, the writing of the Bible, there was plenty of people around who had morals. Morals evolved, apparently. You know, there's any truth in that, which it sounds like there is. Morals evolved, and at some point in recent history, that evolutionary tendency for us to behave in a moral way was co-opted by religion, turned into a proprietary product, and sold back to us, basically. So that now religious people, some religious people at least, turn around and ask us, where on earth could you get your morals from? If you don't have God, you couldn't possibly be moral. Now, all of us recognise that that's nonsense, and this purpose thing is something similar to that. And by purpose, I mean the why question: why live? You know, and I think that's what you're saying, Elena. That you know, religious people who say "why live" are again appropriating a tendency that we all have, and which has been going for donkey's years, and which is probably a result of evolution as well, to seek and acquire purpose, a sense of purpose. And as I said, within recent history, it looks to me like religion's co-opted that, just like they co-opted morals. But and it's kind of evidenced by what you're saying there, and by what was in the other videos, and what other people have said in relation to this. That of course you can have purpose without God and religion. Of course you can. And then there's a list of various things that people have purposes about, usually to do with good feelings, or usually to do with loved ones, or to do with extending hands of compassion. It tends to be those kinds of things, or allying oneself to social causes, for example. So it's always to do with that sense of purpose. But I don't know. Well, there's two things about that I have a problem with. Firstly, well, actually, the other thing associated with that purpose is to do with enjoyment and the pleasures of raising children, or the pleasures of the flesh, or the pleasures of intellectual life, whatever it may be. That's the other reason that's given. But again, that's a kind of purpose, not social purpose, a personal purpose. But again, you know, there's a problem with these things, I think. I mean, firstly, the pleasures of the flesh, the pleasures of raising children, the pleasures of all these kinds of things. These aren't really reasons to live. These are reasons not to die. They're not reasons to be here in the first place. These are reasons to make the best of it while you're here, you know. We're not put on this earth in order to feel good. That doesn't make any sense. We find ourselves here, and those of us who are a bit canny about it decide, oh well, we might as well make the best of it, so we find as much pleasure as we can, or those of us who are just fortunate enough to be oriented in that direction. That's what we do. But the other thing, this idea of finding purpose, I think, you know, purpose is an evolutionary tendency, just like morals are an evolutionary tendency, that they have a naturalistic explanation. There's a good reason why people have purpose, but it's not a spiritual reason. It's not a metaphysical reason. It isn't a greater reason which lies outside of our own biology and our own chemistry and our own and evolved psychology, I don't think. And so I don't know why we would want to fall back on that, other than to get a bit of consolation, you know, because life without purpose particularly if it's phrased in those terms, can be a frightening thought, in the same way that that dying can be a frightening thought, or any of those kind of existential crises can be frightening thoughts. And in the same way that we, that we often look for consolation to get over that existential crisis associated with dying, I think we also look for consolation to get over the existential crisis of purposelessness, or the recognition that purpose is always contingent. Without God, and I don't really understand the whole God thing, I have to say, but without God, purpose is contingent. It is local. It is about one hominid, deriving pleasures from its flesh, or helping another hominid survive the ravages of its environment. I mean, that's kind of what it's about. So these contingent purposes are, I don't know, they're just consolations, I think, and to lean on those consolations as if they really were reasons to live, as opposed to what I think they are, reasons to not die, just seems a bit short-sighted. I think it's not very cheery. I know. I just think we need to find something else. I don't think we should be doing the religious thing really, and looking to purpose. Looking to an answer to the why question, as if the why question wasn't just something that evolved, as if it made some kind of sense. It's never going to do it. We need to find a better way of thinking about this, a better relationship to our bodies and to our environment and to one another, rather than falling back on the religious con trick of purpose, I think, or the evolutionary con trick of purpose, for that matter. Anyway, thanks very much. I do enjoy your videos very much. And they're great. I don't watch all of them, but the ones I do I really like.